In a world that's black and white, the topic of gender identity ignites a controversy that burns with might, challenging norms and societal light. Transgender, a label that invokes debate. For some, it's normal, for others, it ain't. But the clash of perspectives stands high and tall. Tradition and progress battle through it all. Transgender, a controversy that needs attention, a will to embrace or to have apprehension, a chance to stand up and ease the tension, just to give respect to all, and there will be redemption. Welcome to Divided We Stand. I am Jimmy J, and that person over there who identifies as the Golden Lamb is Joe Aguiar. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Awesome, man. Good start. I like that open.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a very special episode tonight. We are joined by somebody who I consider a unicorn. Is actually a conservative transgender female. And now after seeing her on Newsmax the other day, Joe, I gotta, give her a little bit of celebrity status here. Let's go ahead and welcome Christine Rebstock.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Oh, stop it. Hey, don't do that. I'm just an average. I'm a LabCorp courier. That's my job. I got lucky to know some radio hosts, one that has a national TV program.
There you go. Yeah. Newsmax. Yeah, I saw that. That was nice. That was good. So for our viewers now, Christine, here at the Divided We Stand podcast, can you go ahead and just start off by telling us a little bit of your background and a little bit of your story real quick?
Grew up here in Meriden. Went to college in Buffalo. I went to Erie Community College for bowling center management. They have we won a national championship, the varsity bowling. 2-year schools could bowl 4-year schools then. So that's a thrill of my life, winning a national title. I've been in 4 bowling Hall of Fames. I got lucky a few times throughout the years. I've covered major league and minor league sports for the media. I worked for 3 hockey teams. But I always had something inside me that there was someone else inside me from when I was a kid. And I was hiding something. And then about 4 years ago at this time, Christine and me wanted out, and that wasn't good. The dysphoria hit me every second of every damn day till I had to tell my spouse. We were going on 23 years of marriage at that point, and needless to say, didn't go well. That was around Memorial Day of 2019. A month later, 2 floors below me in a garage, she was out with the dog. I unplugged the CO detector, went in the car, started it, garage, and laid down and lived a suicide note. That was my greatest failure because I'm here. After we had an old thing.
Thank God, by the way.
Yeah, she came around, and then the road to Christine was a slow one, but then I got better. I, of course, saw my primary care physician and had some several sessions with a psychiatrist before I started hormone replacement therapy on New Year's Eve of 2019. I came out to the world publicly on November 20th of 2020, almost 11 months into my HRT. And it's been, for me, I'm at peace with myself because I found God as my savior. I could be happy, I'm peace with whether if I get bottom surgery or not. I found a voice. I could never call talk radio shows. I always tried to call WFAN to complain about the Mets' 5th starter, but you can never do that. But now we're talking stuff that's important in life,
Christine, I had the pleasure of interviewing on the radio a couple of weeks ago, and, your story, it really hit with me. And as I recall, you said around 12 or 13, you really started to feel like you kind of knew something was up. Did you suspect? Was that your thought? Were you like, as a male, were you like, I feel like I should be a woman? Like, Jimmy and I were trying to talk about this the other day, and I said, I've always been overconfident for no good reason. And And I've always felt bad for people who didn't feel comfortable in their own skin for whatever reason. What you're dealing with, sexual dysphoria, is to me just like the worst case scenario for being uncomfortable in your skin. And I said to Jim, I won't even pretend to try to know what that's like. Can you explain, as a 12 or 13-year-old, being like, all right, something ain't right here, and kind of what that was like? Because we I don't think in a million years most people can even comprehend what that must feel like.
Yeah.
We had two TVs growing up. The one in the parents' room was the black and white one. I don't think we had cable yet, but there's an old clothing drawer. I think it was like one of the skirts, and I tried to slip in her heels. I'm like, this is what should be me. I think one of the Phil Donahue shows, was it? They had, I don't know what you call it, female impersonators or whatever they called it then. I'm like, hey, that should be me. And even though I'm like 12, 13, 14, this is late 70s, early 80s. I never heard of what I don't even think transgender or transsexual was a term back then. But there's always something in me. And then senior year in Meriden, Maloney and Platt have the annual Thanksgiving Day football game. In Connecticut, most of your high school sports have their big rivalry game.
Yep.
A couple days later, earlier in that week, Maloney and Platt had the girls' powder puff flag football game. So that means they needed boy cheerleaders. And I got recruited to do that. So we had to wear a white sweater, and we got the girls' field hockey skirt. We did the cheers, the pyramid cheers. Hey, I got pretty good at the pom-pom. I never looked good because how we presented, we voted as a group not to go like all girly, no makeup, didn't have our nails done. I don't think I was still maybe body hair starting to grow. I'm like, why couldn't we just go out and do it? So my mom got this ugly wig. Platt. Oh no, it was a Spartan. Oh, the Panthers. Oh,
I'm also from Meriden, Christine.
okay.
Yeah.
I remember Platt beating Maloney in the Stoddard Bowl that year.
Look, I want to be part of the group here, guys. So I'll just say this: my experience with Platt is that's where I had to go and take my police physical exam. Was Platt High School.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
And
wow.
I did pass. I didn't pass the psychological exam. So go figure.
Well, we have ties to the Silver City.
Yeah.
So like that day was like a missed opportunity when we didn't go all out. We're just boys in the skirt.
Yeah.
Hey, but we can move well. I shake those pom-poms good. But that was always in me. But when you go, when you're on when you're competing for a national title, you're in a top 10 ranked school in the country, and we're 5 freshmen and 1 sophomore because it was a 2-year school. Mine, took your focus on that.
Christine, something you said a little while ago really, really struck me, and I didn't know that's about you, and I've been talking to you for months now. That you experienced it when you were 12. Like you knew something, right? You knew something was up when you were 12, and you grew up all the way throughout your adult life, right? As a man, but specifically in your childhood years. So, because this is a big topic now, is transgenderism in children, right? This is the hot button topic. How difficult was it for you to go through that period of time, high school, middle school, feeling the way you did? And should we get some help for the kids that are going through it right now?
What I would do for kids right now, looking back on it, it would have been wrong for someone to put me on any puberty blockers or hormone replacement therapy. I wouldn't go down that route. See, we're told that puberty blockers are reversible. Well, Sweden is a leading healthcare for trans kids, and they found them unsafe. They just continued to practice. I believe Finland too. The UK closed the Tavistock clinic. That also helped with taking care of trans kids. They stopped the medical practice of that. The FDA here put a warning label on puberty blockers. So they have Lupron in them. So that's not reversible. And Sweden also found a video where the trans boys, or confused girls, sometimes their spines aren't fusing right when you're interrupting their puberty. And then WPATH, that's World Transgender Health, they lower the age of hormone replacement therapy. You can start at 14. The trans boys top surgery, which is breast removal, it could be done at 15. For trans girls, your breast augmentation at 16. Bottom surgeries for both at 17. And Connecticut, our state statute 19A-14C allows mental health professionals to treat minor age kids without parental knowledge and consent. So because we're teaching social emotional learning, which is sex gender, what's to stop the kid? Hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm really a boy inside me, but I'm afraid to tell mom and dad this is how the kids are getting on medication. I mean, I'm an advocate for, instead of going the medical route, because this is we're playing Jeopardy with their long-term future health. Why can't we let kids social transition with parental knowledge? That means they will dress and appear as, a quote, their true self. And I want an emphasis on honest mental health therapy. Let's take the medicine out of it, but let's stress the mental health therapy. For the trans boy, we could provide binders. They're a little uncomfortable, but they will hide your chest. For the trans girls, we could get breast forms. You could take the boobs off. And a gaff. A gaff is like a thong that smooths out the front so you don't have that awful bulge. You could take them off so you're not going to hurt your body. And that could help the psyche of a kid. And this we're going to find out if a kid's gender confused or gender dysphoric. And there's a big difference between those two.
I got to agree with you 100% on that one. I mean, Joe and I think as recently as 2 weeks ago, we're talking about this and how we all grew up with knowing a tomboy, right?
Yeah.
We all grew up knowing a girl who was a tomboy. She was very masculine. She didn't look, she didn't dress like a girl. She didn't do anything like a girl. And then I go back and see her 10 years out of high school, and she could be Miss America, for God's sakes.
Right.
I mean, and that's actually happened to me. A girl that wanted to date me, I was like, no, you're a little bored. I went back in your reunion. Oh my God, she was gorgeous. But
I won't name names, but you know someone, Jimmy, that I'm friends with, who was gender confused growing up, didn't like her boobs, didn't want to have puberty.
Well, she doesn't want to tell me.
Huh?
You don't have to tell me, but if you don't, she doesn't want to be known. She doesn't want.
No, I won't spill her name, but you met her, and she's a beautiful woman. See, what would happen if the system rushed her? And they did something. What if they gave her a double mastectomy as a teenager and she detransitioned? You can't go back from surgery. It's tough to go back from hormone replacement therapy. Okay, let's take the 14, 15-year-old me, put on male to female hormones, which is spironolactone, which is the testosterone blocker, and estradiol, which is your estrogen. You give it to the 14, 15-year-old me. Well, about 2 years later, I was confused. I detransitioned. Well, guess what? See, these things here, these are real. They're going to have to be surgically removed. I'm chemically castrated. A natural-born woman has a better chance of getting another woman pregnant right now than I do. And if you're going to go through puberty, guess what? The body's going to, you're going to have the female hourglass shape. Well, boys' pants have pockets. You have to wear boys' pants. You're not going to be wearing a pocketbook as a boy. The pants might not fit well. And you took the body from testosterone to estrogen back to testosterone. So you got to monitor the blood levels. And what's your psychiatrics going through too?
Christine, wouldn't it make more sense though? Like if it, I don't know if there's a way or a test or something where you can figure out the difference between confusion and dysphoria, because, and I said this to Jimmy last week, again, as far as the age, because I understand this idea of like, you want kids, to be 18. And I don't think that's the worst thing. Well, non-parental consent, to me, is insane as a parent. Whether we're talking abortion or, no, there should be parental consent at all. I don't even understand why these lawmakers are messing around with that kind of language. It's ludicrous. But wouldn't it be, if you're a transgender kid, you're 15, you're going through puberty, You want, and you wouldn't it make more sense to transition then and to experience life that way? Wouldn't that be more comfortable? Maybe, I don't know. I'm asking.
I don't think so, because you have to let that body go through puberty. As much as people, you don't want it, but you're going to play jeopardy with your long-term future health. If you're stunting the body's growth, there's going to be some muscle mass different. What the organs don't develop right. Like I say, with the trans boys, they're finding the spines aren't fusing right because you're interrupting. I had a colonoscopy around Thanksgiving and was talking to one of the nurses, and we're talking about things. I told her about what's going on in schools, and she said her neighbor's kid was developing too early. They put her on puberty blockers. She was starting to develop too soon to slow it down. And this is not even for gender confusion. She was like 4'11". She barely could reach the things in the car. She's miserable. See, they interrupted the puberty. Now, good or bad, we have to accept that. It's safer in the long run.
Wow, I didn't even think about that angle. Allowing your body to go through its natural course before introducing drugs to stun it. I never even thought about the medical ramifications of that.
That's why I'm kind of passionate about it. I mean, everyone says the trans community hates me. I'm so transphobic. I hate trans kids. No, I want to see them happy. I want to see them be their true selves, but let's slow down on the medical part till they're old enough to consent. Let's focus on the mental health and other ways we can help them. Social transition. It's safer.
Christine, I've heard you a number of times call gender dysphoria a mental disorder. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think there's a shift of like they're trying to diminish this as a mental disorder. It used to be called gender identity disorder. I think people got triggered by that. They call it gender dysphoria. There's medical part of it, but the mental health is huge. And I don't like the way it's been diminished. We saw what happened in Tennessee. And anyone that's to say, hey, mental health's not a big part of it. No, mental health is a huge part of it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We have to start recognizing that.
You know, I obviously for my job as a political talk show producer, I have to watch the news quite a bit, right? I mean, it's pretty much my life. You're the first person since Monday I've heard bring up the fact that the shooter was transgender, with the exception of
Fox News.
No. With the exception of saying a transgender female shooter, right? That's all they would say. But they never mentioned any. They were so tiptoe around that topic. They would mention it once a segment, and that was it. They would never refer to it again. And the reason why I bring that up is because I've always, and I wondered, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, is it political or they just don't know what to say? And I think it's the latter, right?
This is so political, and they're afraid to say, they're afraid to call it the elephant. They're avoiding the elephant in the room, which I want to bring attention to. We're not going to advance in society unless we focus on the mental health part of this.
Christine,
and that's,
I think
I'm sorry, John. Go for it.
Well, I was going to say, look, I think what you're doing is really important, and I understand some trans people don't like your messaging necessarily because it doesn't go right along with their opinion, and it seems, especially if you talk to comedians these days, that if you say anything about trans people, it's bad.
You're transphobic,
right? And right, even you as a trans person, just saying maybe we should slow it down, right? You're getting that same kind of virtual, and it turns people off to the greater cause.
There you go.
But particularly in your guys' party, you're both Republicans, right?
I'm unaffiliated.
No, hold on. I got an actual question, Christine. Okay. It wasn't just a cheap shot against your guys' party.
Okay.
Do you feel like, because I really do, Christine, here's the thing, when people get to know a gay person, a trans person, a Muslim, their opinions change a little bit. It's like, oh, I met a good one. And it's like, well, no, maybe they're all like that. Do you think that you can change the hearts and minds of your fellow Republicans to come around? Because they've really made this a divisive issue with trans people. And to me, at the election, where the young people, I think between the failure of guns and Republicans just generally going after transgender kids, you're just stamping out every time a kid turns 18, it's like Democrat. There's another one.
Before you answer that, and I'm not trying to show up Joe here because it goes along. It definitely goes along with his, right? And I gotta ask you this. Damn it, I forgot. Damn it, Joe, you went too long. Go ahead. Answer Joe's because I know I'll get the question again when you're in the answer. Go ahead.
All right. Well, everyone I talk to that ask me questions, they tend to be a lot more. I didn't know. All right, I'll be more supportive. All right, because I was at the time a Middletown LGBTQIA plus commissioner, I had to resign from that post 2 weeks ago because of my job of evenings. Last year, I got to see all our top politicians on both sides of the aisle. It was Blumenthal, who treated me absolutely horrible at the Middletown flag raising because I went up to him after I introduced myself. I said, I'm a conservative trans woman. It's great that you came. We could speak, and reach across the aisle. I gave him a hug. Oh my good Lord, he wanted me dead on the grass. So he comes back from the parade a couple days later with Governor Lamont and Lieutenant Governor Bisowicz. The three of them, well, we're in our area because all the groups were staged on the side street. We're in a little thing. They wouldn't come within 10 feet of me. A couple days later, I went to the New Britain Pride flag raising, and that's when I met Aaron Stewart. I met George Logan and met Bob Stefanowski. Bob gave me his business card, and we were texting that day. Do you want to know more about me and where he stood? George was good to me. Met Harry Aurora at the Pride in the Park in Norwalk. He talked to me for half an hour. Wanted to take a picture of me there. Eric Russell, he ran against he ran against him and won. He's black gay male. We're like, hello, and how you doing? That's about it. Everyone in the GOP, the candidates were nice to me. Leora Levy, in fact, she called me yesterday. She heard I was on the Newsmax show. She was very good to me. She let me speak at a few of her events, including the last one, the Sunday night before the election.
Tap the brakes for a minute. So look, I've talked to Leora Levy a few times. I love her. I think she's a great woman, great morals, great values, and true to her convictions. I wouldn't take her as someone to be pro-trans at all. Is she?
She's one of my biggest supporters. I met her a few times.
Huh.
Okay, I remember now. So I got to ask you something, Christine, because you've talked to a lot of people in this state, right, about this topic, obviously. Okay, so Joe and I go at it pretty regularly. Not as hard as we do religion, right? We go hard at religion. But transgenderism, we go pretty harsh at. All right, and I'm going to tell you, and I think I've told you already, so I'm going to tell you exactly where I stand and how I believe the majority of the GOP feels. Okay? I believe that there are only two genders. That's it. I believe you want to do what you want. I want you to be happy. I believe that you're free to do what you want. I'm never going to look down upon you for doing it. But you know that I believe that there's only two genders and you can't change them. I respect your decision to do what you want to do as your individual self. I address you as such. I don't ever make it a big deal that, you know what I'm saying, that you're a transgender woman. I don't introduce you to people as, this is Christine, she's a transgender woman, he was a man. You know, I never do anything like that.
No.
I respect you. I respect your decision. All I'm asking, and what I believe the GOP is asking, and what the liberals can't grasp their head around, is that, look, you can go ahead and transition. You can be a trans person. I don't believe in that, but I'm going to respect your decision to do that. All I am asking is for you to respect my decision to believe what I want to believe.
Yeah.
I'm not taking it out on you. I don't know one Republican, not one, that goes out there and tries to point out transgender people and say that they're wrong. Like Joe and the liberals here are always like, the GOP are so anti-trans. They're so transphobic. And I'm wondering, like, what is going, like, where are you getting this information?
It's the laws that are being passed in state legislatures all over the country discriminating against transgender people. That's my issue.
I believe a lot of the legislature, that is going around is to protect children when it comes to these things.
From someone like Christine? Does Christine
No, Joe. Listen to Christine. Listen to her. She's telling you what they're trying to protect their children from. And in fact, you already agreed it should be protected because there should be parental consent. The job of the parent is to protect the kids.
So if you have parental consent, then should they just be able to do it whenever?
Hey, man, that's their kid. Who am I to say what to do?
Well, if the law was 18, then we would be saying you can't.
If the law was 18, the law is 18, brother. What am I? You want to transition at 18?
But that's what you guys are saying. You want the law to be 18, so you do want to tell them what to do.
No,
you want them to do it way.
I saying you can do whatever you want if you want to have it with parental.
But the idea that you're protecting kids from transgenderism, I don't understand what that even means.
From making a lifelong decision that is irreversible. That's what I'm protecting children from. Just like I would protect children from smoking. Just like I would protect children from drinking. Just like I would protect children from a lot of things.
Jimbo, Christine spent 40 years on the fence as to whether she should do something about her issue. 40 years.
And how does Christine feel about the way I say it?
Hold on. Christine almost killed herself because of all of what was going on.
And she's saying that they need to have parental consent.
That's what I'm saying. That's one of like 10 things here. Again, here's what I'm saying, right? I hear a lot of people on the right, not Jim, thank God, but I hear a lot of people on the right, tomorrow they're going to be a girl. And it's like, well, I don't think that kids are that flippant about it. I don't think therapists and pediatricians are flippant about it. I think that there's a lot that goes into the conversation. I mean, I have a relative, one of my wife's cousin is transitioning. She's been dealing with a lot of mental issues the last 5 years. Then the transition began. There's certainly an element of mental illness associated with transgender people. Are they connected? I don't know if we even know that yet. And here's the other thing. As far as the competing in sports, I've said a million times, I don't know what the answer is. I think that's a work in progress. We're going to have to figure that out. It's not excluding kids, and it's not making young men who now present as women going to change in a men's locker room. That's not gonna help anybody out mentally, physically, or anywhere in between. So again, some of the approaches of Republican legislatures are a little aggressive towards those kids. And I'm with Christine. Slow the brakes, right? You want to kind of get them comfortable with it before we go all the way. Great. There's got to be a good middle ground that we can all agree on. But the fact of the matter is transgender people aren't scary. They're not scary.
The reason why I mentioned all of that,
but you're not protecting kids from medical decisions that they're making with their doctors and their family.
With your experience over the last, what did you say, 4 years you've been presenting as a female? With your experience in the last 4 years, how many Republicans have come up to you and told you were wrong, immoral, going to hell?
We just had an election, for Christ's sake, as if they would say that before an election.
Well, some of the radio audience, I'll tell you this. There's some of our radio audiences in Connecticut they've been nasty to me too. But I've been having a lot of nastiness from trans community on the left. See, you're right, Jimmy, there are only two genders. That's a false I don't agree with this term assigned male at birth or assigned female at birth. We were born male, we were born female, some due to medical issues were born with both sets of reproductive parts that's intersex. If you're suffering from gender identity disorder, you're going to live as your true self, the other gender. That's still two genders. And I view myself as a transsexual because I'm trying to distance myself from the gender ideology movement. There is a gender ideology movement that seems to cater to the non-dysphoric people who get to display all their gender non-conforming views, and they're trying to force their views on people. And such movement comes at the expense of a gender dysphoric transsexual. We're the ones trying to live our life. We're the ones going through the miserable dysphoria, which is, I wish this on nobody. It is brutal to live with. It hit me every second of every damn day. It's not my choice to do this. I wish and prayed I could never do this. I'm telling you. I wish this never happened to me. But I'm happy now because I found God. I could be my true self.
Well, don't bring that up to Joe, Christine.
You know what, Christine? Here's what I would say. I don't know why people. You did this. This was through your strength and probably your partners and your family and friends who have supported and encouraged you. It's got nothing to do with God. God wouldn't have done this to you in the first place. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Before we go down,
I don't know why God would do stuff like that. To me, this is evidence that there is no God. And we as human beings have to learn to respect one another when someone has a condition, whether it's anything on the LGBTQ spectrum, whatever it is. Again, I think if people just stop. Christine, you know what my issue with the Republicans has been the last 10 years or so? They're so concerned with what's happening in people's pants.
See, I
don't understand that. They're hot for it, they're wild about it, and I don't like it.
I'll say this. The overreaction by the GOP is because of the gender ideology movement, and not enough gender dysphoric people are saying, hey, this isn't right. I kind of view myself as a trans medicalist on this. So the non-binary, multi-gender, made-up pronouns I don't like. The Dylan Mulvaney's. Dave Love being a girl. Normalizing the bulge video. If you are dysphoric, you're going to throw up at it like I almost did. No one's going to normalize the bulge. Women don't have bulges.
All right, guys,
hold on. Here's another thing I gotta be truthful about. You hear the term, too many trans women will say trans women are women. No, we are trans women. Trans men are trans men. We have the prefix. Last time I checked, I was born male, so I can't get pregnant. Can't get periods. And I don't need feminine products. But when I posted on my Facebook page, which I had to take down, to all the natural born women out there, Happy International Women's Day, I was taken to the woodshed by the trans community. Transphobic. Oh my good heavens. But I'm just stating the truth. And if we can say more of us say the truth, the GOP won't have all this reaction. All you have to say is just make 18 the minimum age to medically transition. Let's encourage mental health and alternative ways to let gender-confused kids grow up. It's all you need to do for healthcare. And let's leave the drag queens alone. I'll just say this about drag queens. We should have just went to these private, not the LGBT clubs where they do shows, because those are adult. All these places where they do the benefits, the bingos and that, and say, hey, just make these adult only. We don't need all ages. And we could have pestered our municipalities and ended drag queen story hours. If we could have done that, then it wouldn't be such an explosion today.
Exactly. Hold on to that next thought. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back on the other side of the break, and Joe's going to do his bit. After his bit, we're going to grill him. Okay. So everybody stick around. And on the other side of this break, the flip side with Joe Aguiar.
Do you want to start your own podcast or live stream show? At Clovercrest Media Group, we can help you create a show to run on CT Politics TV. From concept to development and production, Let the pros at CMG assist you in getting your voice heard. At CMG, we'll also help you build your audience on social media, as well as train on how to become a broadcast professional. To learn more or to set up a free consultation, visit us at clovercrestmedia.com.
If there's one thing I hate when it comes to politics, it's inconsistency. If you're for states' rights when it comes to some things, but not for everything, you're just being illogical. Sometimes people can't even stay consistent on one thought. My choice, my body. No one is forcing me to get the jab of death. My choice, my body does not apply here. My choice, my body also applies here. They have a saying about that where you just pick out the stuff that makes your point while ignoring some of the obvious facts. Yeah. Oh, it's called bullshit. When you know, you know. You know what I mean? I understand the concern adults have with kids transitioning before the age of 18, but if you and your doctor and your therapist agree you have gender dysphoria, when and what treatment medical professionals decide on is no one's business. Same with abortion. Don't worry about what other people are doing. It's their body and their choice. You're not saving a kid from a hasty medical decision. And you're not protecting kids from this. If it makes you uncomfortable for some reason, regardless of lying politicians who claim they're using these events to groom kids, it's just not true. And if it were true, you would know the person because Fox News would cover it 24/7. By the way, this is what we do need to protect our children from, and I'm not referring to her being trans. I'm referring to her guns. People on the right want to make an issue with the fact that this shooter was trans rather than the fact that she's just another school shooter. They have a word for that too. It's inconsistent logic that's failed our students for 30 years. Let's cut the crap and stop being people who don't live up to their own moral standards.
Joe, normally I come back out of your the flip side here, and I applaud you and I say and it's all crap, but I can't this time, brother. I want to say that it's all crap. Some of it is, right? Some of it is, right? I'm not going to lie. Do I think they're grooming kids? It kind of depends on your definition of grooming. Do I think they're grooming it to normal size, to make it a normalcy? Yeah, I do. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Right?
I'll take that.
You said something to me last week that got me thinking, and I never wanted to admit this to you.
That you were thinking? I'm impressed.
But I did it. But I will. I'll give you your due.
Awesome.
You said to me, what if they're just trying to inform them about these people? And that's a great point. That's an excellent point because people, and I've said it a million times, people need to be informed. If people are more informed, they're less confused, they're less angry with it or distracted by it or confused by it. So yes, I believe we do need to inform our students, all right, but at an appropriate age. Okay, so I'm going to bring this picture back up if you don't mind. Not that one, sorry. That one, okay?
Yeah.
So at that age, I don't remember what I was thinking because it was so long ago, but I guarantee you it wasn't sex. It wasn't, is this a girl or is this a guy? And I don't think they should be having to think about that. I think they need to be thinking about Blue's Clues and frickin' Dora the Explorer. Not if this is a girl or if this is a guy and confusing them even more. I do believe they need to learn about this stuff now because of you, Joe. But I do believe that we need to make an appropriate age range and an appropriate age limit on this. Now, we happen to have somebody here who's a transgender, and I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not an advocate of social emotional learning in our classroom. I think this has to start from the home. See, when you're in the school, it's brought into subject matter, which we've seen. And then you have TikTok and all these other social media sites of kids. This throws a recipe. This is how they get gender confused. And we're quick, like I said, we're quick to get the kids medicated. Let's get the kids' mental health and see how they and live as, quote, their true selves and see how it plays out. And when you say educate people, that's what I try to do.
Yep.
Trans people were under 1% of population. So everywhere I go, I could probably be one of the first trans persons someone's talked to. So I want to be open. I want people to ask me stuff. I want to educate, not irritate people.
I'd say all the time, Jimmy. Yeah. Again, I think when people meet a gay person, trans person, again, any of the letter people, the LGBTQ, people of different religions, people of different races, you meet those people for the first time, and it's like, look, let's be honest too. We all have preconceived notions about people based on race, religion, creed, color, obviously. And the most Gandhi liberal is lying if they tell you differently, right? That's just how the human brain works. So like Christine said, and why, again, I say, is Christine okay with us normalizing that there's transgender people in the world? Wouldn't it be nice if when you're out, if some...
Of course it would be nice.
Little kids...
That's not what we're talking about.
Hold on. Little kids will stare. They'll stare at something that they don't understand or they've never seen before because they're curious, not because they hate it, because they don't know what it is. Christine, it should start in the home, but I think too often, especially with conservative mom and dads, they drop the ball and they don't educate their kids on these things. So that's what I'm saying. I hope that you can really be a beacon of light for conservatives to be like, oh God, Christine's great. That's not weird at all. No, it's not. It's normal and it should be normalized because there's nothing bad or creepy about it.
That's what I'd like to tell parents. One day your child's going to come home and be different. Here's what I like. Instead of flipping out, well, once you calm down and the emotions taken out of it, I want mom and dad, okay, we're going to call a family physician and we're going to get referred. We'll go to some therapy and see how this plays out. We're going to be rash. We're not going to overreact. Sometimes that child's questioning their sexual preference and gender. They might be, quote, normal after a while, but don't jump the gun. Let's see how we could do this slowly and easily. And if it's gender without medication. That's what I would tell parents. I don't care, conservative, in the middle, or liberal. Let's give every kid the chance to succeed and be themselves in life.
We say,
and if you let a kid grow up, that kid who might be trans or gay or lesbian, and the parents are accepting, there's going to be skills in that child you'll never see, and they're going to blossom in a way.
I'm sure. We say on this program all the time, Christine, that we just want people to be happy.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do. Be happy. Right. And I don't really want to change the subject. Right. But we're running out of time. And I want to ask you this. And it's probably a question that you don't get asked a lot. How has this affected your partner? Because you know what? We always talk about the person transitioning. We never talk about the support group around that person or the people around that person and how it affects them.
It's a great question. Your family or your spouse, loved ones, your family, they have to go through a transition as well. That's something that we're not taught. That's what I will tell people. Yes, my spouse had to go through her own transition. In some ways, we're much better off today than we were before. See, hiding myself, I was a lousy husband. We took one of my nephews in over 20 years ago. He's in his 30s now. I wasn't a great parental figure to him because the hiding my true self, I took it out at home. I was wrong about it. Now my nephew and I, we have a great relationship. We go to all sports events. We're all, oh my God, why couldn't I be like this from day one with them? And my
That's
spouse
my
and I
point.
were better.
That's my point. I have nothing. I'm a conservative as you can get sometimes, and I have nothing against anybody. And I just want people to be happy. And Christine, I'm so happy that you found. I'm extreme. It makes me happy that you have found happiness. That your confusion is come to an end, and you're able to live an authentic life. I'll call it authentic. It truly does make me very happy. I wish you the best. I gave Joe some credit a little while ago, so I want to ding him a little bit. Okay.
So I give Joe credit though. Joe's right about the parents should be more supportive. That's what I'm gonna have to work on. Joe, you're 100% right.
I agree with that. I agreed with that.
Yes.
So Joe and I have argued on this program many a time. Okay. Joe likes to say that I'm crazy when I say indoctrination. When I say the word indoctrination, I'm a nut. I am a QAnon nutbag because it's not happening. So, and you've traveled around the state of Connecticut. You've been awfully involved in political school boards, testimonies up at the Capitol.
Yes, I testified the Connecticut State Board of Education.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, do you know of any specific examples here in specifically the state of Connecticut of what you would call indoctrination going on?
Okay, well, we found the book Gender Queer in the children's section of the Greenwich Public Library. It's also been found in classrooms. It's an animated book geared for ages 12 to 18, very sexual cartoons full. It doesn't belong in any school classroom or any public library, children's section of public library. This book shouldn't be for kids. This is an adult book. See, Stellington had teacher, 10th grade teacher, brought a quote unvetted paper with white supremacy, cisgender, transgender on it. I went to that Board of Education meeting. Megan Watrous, the parent in Darien, didn't like book Julian's a Mermaid being taught to her second grade daughter. Jeremy Bolin of Greenwich, Coscob Elementary School, caught with his hiring practices. He wouldn't hire people over 40, wouldn't hire Catholics, wouldn't hire conservatives. So we're seeing these cases. And also in Maine, which is also happening here, you had April Levine. Her daughter had a binder, hold your breast, and demanded where it came from. And daughter made up a story, and finally the truth came out. She got it at school.
So they're already
the counselor at school. This is on the Main Wire with Steve Robinson wrote this. I've been in contact with Steve. He was a guest on Tom Shattuck's show on TIC. The school was taken upon to transition a kid. Luckily, it was caught before any medical intervention was used. So this stuff does go on.
So thank God about 5 random incidents of indoctrination in the entire 169 towns and cities in Connecticut. That's not bad. It's not the wholesale that I think a lot of people on the right are trying to sell it for. That there's this indoctrination. I get the sense from a lot of Republicans that they're under the impression that we're teaching kids how to have gay sex when they're in kindergarten. And that I try to explain to Jimmy, that's just not happening. I have a lot of friends who are teachers, and my friends are like, indoctrinate these kids. Who's got time for that shit? You know, we barely have enough time to get the crap we have to do. There's no indoctrinating. They're not really doing that. And again, I've heard some of these one-off incidents. I think people in Greenwich and Southington in particular, no offense, you're very sensitive people. I think that's very much on them.
That's fine. That's cool. It's on them.
It's
their fault that they're offended. How dare they?
We should focus on the academic scores rising. They lowered the standards in mathematics and other academics. We gotta prepare our students to succeed in life without necessarily going to college. How come every kid doesn't know how to balance a checkbook or do basic taxes?
There you go.
Or change a tire or jumpstart a car. Basic cooking and sewing, life skills. And
Okay, guys. I need to wrap this episode up, but I'm going to end in a kind of a different way tonight. We've talked a lot about, well, actually, we talked a little bit, the latest part about teachers, right? And indoctrinations and schools. And instead of talking about that, I want to just close this episode out with saying, God bless you teachers right now and school administrators. Because instead of talking about indoctrinating our children in transgenderism, instead of talking about math, instead of talking about science, instead of talking about anything freaking educational, we have to go through and explain emergency kits in case of freaking school shooters. That's what we do in our schools right now. We explain emergency kits and go over emergency drills. So, for all you teachers and administrators out there, God bless you. And you shouldn't have to be thinking about that. I would love a classroom where we can debate openly the transgender issue, religion, but instead we got to worry about school shooters. So I'm going to close this episode out. I would have said a prayer, but I know Joe won't like that. I'm just going to say, God bless you guys. All right. God bless every one of you guys that are put your lives. Nobody thinks you're going to school, you're ever going to get shot. And you shouldn't have to. You should never, ever have to. All right. So for Christine Rob, God dang it. I can't say it. Thank you. For Christine Revstock, Joe Aguiar, I am Jimmy J for Divided We Stand, saying good night and God bless.